been against this re-signing. Not that I don't like Beasley, not that I don't think that he was a great contributor last year, but the price point was too much for me. This is a journeyman player who's been all over the league, so many different teams, and there's no way he would have had the impact on this Pistons team last year if it weren't for Jaden Ivey going down. You look at what he brings, he doesn't play good defense, couldn't hit the three in the playoffs when we needed him to. I like him as a leader. I like him on this team for about $7-8 million. To me, maybe 10, but when you're talking about $14 million, you're talking about overpaying 50% for a guy that, in my opinion, there's 5, 6, 7 more of guys very similar in skill set available in free agency. Now, some of the guys that we're going to get into, some of the options to replace Beasley if the Pistons do not decide to reignite their contract talks, because as we've learned, they had a 3-year, $42 million deal in place, and now that's gone up in smoke as we wait for the dust to settle. And before that dust settles, the Pistons might go out and sign themselves somebody else.
They just might. We'll chat about that, and there's plenty of audio, plenty of video available if you ever want to watch it. I just saw a game from a couple of years ago, the T-Wolves. I think they were playing the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken. And Malik Beasley, they were down 9, the T-Wolves, gets the out-of-bounds pass, rushes down the court with 3 seconds to go, and slams the ball in to knock a 9-point lead down to a 7-point. Pardon?
That's a good motor.
Yes, that is a good motor.
Play to the last second.
So instead of losing by 9, just dribbling the ball out, say goodnight, he ran down, gets the jam. They lose by 7. What's the spread? It's 7.5. Okay. So they cover the spread or either way. So things look fishy, And I guess the NBA keeps track of that. Of course they do, because let's face it, every stadium, every arena now has either FanDuel, MGM, you name it. They have it. Caesars, of course. Thank you, Caesars. And what's the one at the Palace right now, at Little Caesars?
Well, Bet Rivers.
Bet Rivers, yeah. They have a whole setup for the Bet section. Rivers Lounge there. Yeah. Every freaking stadium. You put on a Tiger game, they got FanDuel. It's on the FanDuel network, for crying out loud.
I DJ the MGM Sportsbook during football season. It's packed.
It's packed.
7-hour shifts.
We all know that gambling runs sports. It's always run sports. Always. But now it is in your face, and it's on our phones.
Pause.
It's constantly in our hands. How easy it is. Look what Jamison Williams did on the road trip the one day. He puts up his phone. He puts a bet in. Oh, the NFL finds out. Hey, you can't do that. Even though you were in a team hotel away from the stadium. And he puts a small bet in, whatever the hell he bets, and he gets suspended. And now it comes all the way full circle. And we've had the Tim Donaghys, the referees. There's gambling, man. Gambling, CCNY in the 50s. Gambling. Kool-Aid, I'm coming to you.
Please explain what you just said.
Wake up, Woodward. What did you guys tackle on this subject?
With this, I believe that where the Pistons are trending, you don't want this type of noise. We drummed it up to knucklehead energy. Well, I don't think that Malik Beasley is a bad guy. I believe that he came here and showed to be probably his most mature season ever with the Detroit Pistons, and he was well on his way to getting what I believe to be a well-deserved contract. But now the Pistons can't operate as a team over the cap. They can't go out there and sign maybe 1 or 2 guys if they think it's enough and then still go and get Malik Beasley and sign him over the cap. This hurts in more than one way. So even if we say, okay, we're going to pivot, we're going to try and now be aggressive towards other people, they've missed out. Who knows what trades that's gone down.
Oh, yeah.
Where we know in the past they've positioned themselves to be one of those third teams to help a squad or a second team to help a squad that's trying to get from the second apron and down and all that. So underneath the aprons and underneath the taxes. So that's where I'm looking at this thing from multiple levels, and I'm disappointed, because he asked not to be traded at the deadline. So again, we're compounding. The Pistons could have traded at the deadline and got assets. Now they're in a position to where no matter what they do, I think that there are options you can like. but I believe that you're going to have to get multiple players to make up for the impact that Beasley had from as it relates to outside shooting last year.
I'll go to you, Anson. I know you weren't a fan of his, to be re-signed. You already said that. Let's say he gets exonerated of this. So he's still a viable candidate. Maybe he takes a little less money now to come here. Are you okay with that?
Well, that's a great point. If you can get him on a discount and he can come back here for 7 or 8 all day long.
Yeah.
When I look at this, taking a year to surface, because again, to go back, this happened in 23-24, took a year for it to come up. In fact, a whole season passed. I don't see this being settled quickly.
Right.
And for many of the points that Kool-Aid just spoke about, this isn't a team that's toiling with 14 wins. This is a team on the precipice of an Eastern Conference Finals trip.
Yeah.
And you can't have any distractions. You can't have any of that stuff. So I've got a whole bunch of options here that we can talk about that I know they are talking about right now down in Detroit. We've all mentioned and we've all seen for the last 24 hours the name Nickeil Alexander-Walker. We got a chance to watch him in the Western Conference Finals.
He's also a Timberwolf.
Correct.
All right. That's where Beasley came from as well.
Correct. And we watched him D'ing up his cousin, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The guy is one of the premier perimeter defenders in the league, and he's a 39-point shooter from 3. To me, I've been saying that this team needs to build themselves in the image of what OKC has done, and that is when you have 12 guys that can defend. And if you bring in NA, as he's known, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you take care of both things. You get that perimeter guy, but you also get a guy that can start or be your 6th man as a defender on any tremendous perimeter scorer. Some of the lesser options that are out there, former Wolverine Karis LeVert, we're hearing is linked already.
Yeah.
Gary Trent is a guy that I think is out there, a great outside shooter, not, very similar to Beasley in what he brings defensively. Tim Hardaway Jr. could be brought back.
Yeah.
Schroeder, still another guy that we're going to need to talk to. But something sneaky that I haven't seen much about that I have read kind of through in between the lines, I could see a Simone Fontecchio trade for Peyton Pritchard from the Boston Celtics.
That would be a plus for the
Their
Was
contracts.
he the rookie of the year?
Who?
The Pritchard kid?
No, you're talking Stephon Castle.
Okay.
So Peyton Pritchard is the white, tenacious 3-point shooter, really just a specialist. He can defend decently. He would fit right in with this team. He brings a ring
I agree.
as well. But my biggest concern through all of this, now I kind of think that the Pistons knew this was happening. I think that that's why you saw them go after Chaz Lanier. I think that that's why the Nickeil Alexander-Walker conversation is happening so quickly. But through all of this smokescreen and chaos that the Beasley situation has brought, my biggest concern, the biggest need for this team is that stretch 4 or 5. And right now it seems like the focus has strayed from bringing that lengthy shooter in. Christian Boucher, Bol, Santi Aldama, 3 guys are still out there. And your point that you brought up.
You know how I feel about Santi Aldama.
I get that, but your point that you brought up that if we sign these guys, we can't then sign Beasley unless he comes back and says, okay, I got in trouble, I'll take $7 million again. If you trade Fontecchio for Pritchard, now you have an opportunity to sign one of these 3 big guys. Now, Portis got signed last night or this morning. That's who I wanted. Myles Garrett's gone. Nas Reed's about to ink one. The premier stretch guys, they're off the board. But any one of those 3 I'd be happy to get, especially if it's on the heels of a Pritchard deal where we can bring him into town. I am not worried at all. The core 4 is there. This team is going to continue to grow because they're so young, and I think that any one of the names that I mentioned can come in here and do exactly what Beasley did, because you're not asking Beasley to play 26 minutes because Jaden Ivey's healthy.
This is the one thing, though, when I do look at the box score, this is one of the exercises we did earlier. Beasley only played over the whole season about 200 minutes more than Nah, and he did play about 300 plus more.
Seconds.
What'd you say?
Seconds.
Yeah, I forget the other person we were talking about.
Alexander? Smith Alexander?
No, Alexander, he played
Trent?
about 200 more than, and then with Trent, with Trent he played about 350 more minutes than him. Over a course of a season, it doesn't extrapolate to that much more. But when you look at how many more shots per game he got off over 400 more shots per game. 400 more shots over the course of the season than both of those guys.
Because he had
That is
to, because
huge.
we had to have him do that. Don't you think the Pistons team that's better than last year's team doesn't need that from him?
I
Or
don't
from
know.
Pritchard, or Karis LeVert, or Naw, or Trent. Any of
Because he
those
did it
guys.
at better percentages. So if you're telling me that I know I can throw you the ball and you're going to make effectively 2 more threes per minute than anybody else out there on the court, I think that's a skill set to value. Now, I know that the Pistons are now in a position to where he's kind of played himself out of that effectively, or gambled himself out of that, allegedly.
Hey, allegedly.
But, when you're talking about these secondary options here now that they have to pivot aggressively, which was the word from Mark Stein, this is one where, I'm definitely for these options. If you can get from underneath this expiring, $8.3 million of Simone Fontecchio, it puts the Pistons, I believe, in the driver's seat to get several of these players. I don't think that they can just come away with just 1 or 2. I think they need to find a way to get 1, 2, and then maybe even a cheap shooter, like a cheap option shooter as a third pick, and
How about Hardaway?
then Schroeder.
Would you keep Hardaway?
You know what? I am bullish about keeping our vets here, especially as you now know Malik Beasley's not going to be here. Now you're looking at Schroeder, who's getting some attention from others.
It doesn't look
Tim
like we're
Hardaway.
going to keep him.
I think you need to keep some of those vets here that help push this team to the top as well.
I wanted to keep Schroeder, but the more I read, the more it doesn't look like he's staying.